Hey everybody, it's Jim of Animateducated. Today you're going to meet Mitra Shahidi, who is the director of Starling, a beautiful animated short about the spirit of a cute little girl who shoots down to Earth to spend her birthday with her parents. The film won the top animation prize at the Tribeca Festival in 2023, and Mitra is a storyboard artist at a studio called Pixar. And you can see a series of making of videos of the film on her YouTube channel. So without further ado, here's my interview with Mitra Shahidi. So you grew up in Turkey and you were there for most of your life, and then you ended up coming to America. You went to San Francisco right off the bat, or did you go
I
somewhere
did.
else? You went.
That's right. I went to San Francisco. I mean, I always knew that I was gonna like stay here. We immigrated here with my family, and I went to Academy of Art University in San Francisco. And within that school, I worked on a film instead of like working towards my actual 3D animation degree that I was trying to pursue. I just kind of made a film with my friends. It took a few years. I loved it. It was such a great experience. And upon graduation, I had a film and not a portfolio. And I started looking for jobs. Nobody wanted to watch a movie, you know. So eventually I got lucky and I landed the job with an online gaming company as a production artist, like an design, like an asset designer. And eventually I worked my way up to art director. And after that, I just quit that job because I decided to pursue animation full time. And that's how it all turned out.
And you work for some place called Pixar, I heard. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a storyboard artist. Yeah.
I'm a storyboard artist, yes.
Okay. Do you have any I don't know, stories about storyboarding or production, anything that you learned as you were working as a
You
storyboard
know,
artist or anything?
absolutely. I feel like storyboard artists, no matter where we work, Pixar or elsewhere, it's a lot of reboarding. We redo things a lot, a lot, a lot. And I feel like that is very, very common in the practice of telling a story. You're finding the story while drawing it, right? You're redrawing, you're figuring everything out. And sometimes you draw something and you think it's one way, but then in the end, when you see it edited together, it's completely different. It feels completely different. So you just have to lean into the process of like boarding and reboarding all the time. So yeah, that's what's pretty eye-opening for me. I just didn't know how many times. It's a lot of times. And you can redraw a scene for maybe 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. And ultimately the final one is going to be the one that you were searching for this whole time. And yeah, that's one of the biggest things I learned. Another thing is like I didn't know how much you could plus a sequence. Like when you get a few pages of script, you can actually work on it on in a way where you can add your own thoughts to it. You can add your own, you can even add a line if you feel brave, if you feel like it needs, you can add jokes, you can add like the acting that you bring, the tone that you bring to the sequence makes the world of difference. And you're always trying to find what the director is looking for out of those pages. And that's a big learning experience because you're almost directing your mini sequence at each assignment. So with the mindfulness that you need this to fit within the bigger movie, and you're hoping that the director that you're working with can fit this bit into the film and it will work with the rest of it. So that these are some stuff that I had no idea about before I started working in the industry. So it was very rewarding. And you become like this with your crew members, with your storyboard artist friends, like you're all working in one room and you're talking about the story all the time. You're trying to figure out what the want of the character is, and it's been such a journey. To be honest, it's been great.
I teach animation storyboard, well, pre-production, and I get them to
Mhm.
come up with an idea, and sometimes they come up with these giant ideas, and we only have like a minute and a half or two
Yeah.
minutes, so short is better. So yeah, and I always say that if you're going to be a storyboard artist, because a lot of them want to do that, um,
Mhm.
get used to, you know, it's not gonna be perfect that first one. They're gonna take that down, change their ideas, and go from there. So it's just how it is. So
Yeah, and that's the
yeah.
fun of it, honestly. Like I don't necessarily wanna, I'm not, I don't have it in me to spend a lot of time on a drawing. Um, I I want to just draw something and throw it away, draw something and throw it away. That's just kind of how I work. And it's been very perfect for me. I can't sit there and polish something, and I admire people who can do that. And that's, I feel like that's a completely different job. And the polishing within story comes from redoing it and finding just the right tone, just the right drawing, just the right piece of story, the angle, the whatever, the cinema of it. And it that's what's fulfilling for me as a storyboard artist. So you can never be super precious about any of the stuff you're doing.
So you work at Pixar. You probably see a lot of storyboards that come your way from people that are looking for work. Do you have any
Mhm.
suggestions for students?
Totally. In the storyboard portfolio, I feel like I see this a lot with the portfolios that students, when they build a portfolio, they want to show all of their skills, such as I'm a character designer, I'm also a visual development artist, I'm also a storyboard artist, I'm also an animator. Look at all the things I can do, which can be great for learning. And it's great that they have experience in every discipline. But if you're applying for a story job, most of the time the people who are looking for the portfolio are going to look for storyboards, storyboards first and foremost. Just storytelling moments, little snippets of a story that you either like or you made up, and maybe from a book that you read that is like an excerpt that you're interpreting in terms of a story. Designs, the world that you're building, what thought process went into building this world for your story to be taking place. A page or two of like exploration drawings are always welcome, but don't lean too much into like pages and pages of like character lineups, because I mean, one page might be enough for me to see, oh, you've designed these characters for this world you're about to show me, but I'm most interested in how you tell the story, how you shoot with your camera, how you're building and progressing your scene. And it doesn't even have to be a full story. That's also another thing that I see is like people say, I'm going to do a whole short, like an entire short film, which is long. I don't really think that it's necessary it's a lot of work. It's good for learning, but if you're making specifically a portfolio, just do like 100 panels of like beginning, middle, and end of something. And it doesn't have to be this big idea. It can be just like, oh yeah, I threw my coin at the lake and went to get it, and there's like a little twist. That's it. Like there's nothing crazy. There doesn't need to be like a 3 film saga. And I feel like we fall into that trap a lot. I do too myself. Like this is no shade. It's just I when I start something, I have these like big ideas. Like it's gonna be like impressive and like mega big and so awesome. And eventually when I start drawing, it's like, wait, what am I really trying to do? What is that little seed? And that's all we need to see in the portfolio. And if you're into comedy, lean into comedy. If you like the drama, lean into drama. There is nothing wrong with leaning into the things that you like. We want to see your voice and like what you're into, so that you know um a studio can cast you accordingly into a movie that if they have some sort of like a more dramatic movie, they want to see like, oh, this person is really interested in that, we could potentially use their skills on this film. And that's kind of what I would recommend. Don't make it too long. Don't do too much of other stuff. Like we don't necessarily need to see like a 3D animation reel within a story portfolio. And some drawings, always like sketchbook drawings, are always welcome. We would like to see like how you see the world, how you approach drawing. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
So not a lot. You like figure drawing, maybe a few samples of that, but not like a whole lot of that. Mm.
Anybody can tell from just like 4 or 5 drawings how you
Mm-hmm.
approach it. All we want to see is not like the final beautiful drawing, but the approach, like
Mm.
how you see this, how you see the movement, how you see the volume, and if how do you caricaturize this, and how you exaggerated it. I mean, just like the taste. I feel like just giving the studios like a taste of what you can do is plenty, and obviously storyboards. maybe 5 to 6 projects that you would have either made up, or previous work experience is good too. If you don't have personal stories, that's huge. Personal stories come, like, when I was a kid, this is what I did, and this happened, and blah blah blah, and that's really valuable. Or this is a story I wrote myself, and that's valuable too. Or this is a book I love that I interpreted it, that's great too. Just anything that you're into, we want to see like what kind of stuff you care about.
You had this idea, and you were working at Pixar at the time, and you got to work on this Pixar co-op program, which I think is great. And yeah, and you made this film, which is a smoothly blended 2D 3D film. And I'm just curious, what was the first inspiration of making this film?
It came to me after the passing of my best friend, and I thought, we were very, very, very close. We were childhood best friends, and I just couldn't accept that. And I thought that she would still be around. And I started meditating on how grief, or like how no longer being on Earth would mean. Like, what would that mean? Or would they try to come back? Would they still be with us? Like, what would that look like? What would that feel like? And I also didn't want to just make like a sad movie, because I also wanted to celebrate the joy that life does offer, and a joy that this like, my friend was a very joyous person. She was bouncing off the walls all the time. And this character is not one-to-one exactly her. It's like our personalities meshed into this one character. And this is how I started drawing this little star. And I kept thinking of her as this bright, shining star in everybody's life that she touched. And that's how the story came about. And I wanted her to come back for a birthday that, that she had. So
Yeah, so you took a personal thing and kind of, yeah, you made it into a film.
yeah.
So it got in a bunch of festivals. One of them is a Tribeca festival, and it won like first in the animation or something like that.
Yes, it did.
And I'm just curious, I'm hoping that you went to the Tribeca Film
I
Festival.
did.
How was it to see it, with a big audience that, you don't know
It
who
was
they
quite
are?
surreal. I know. It was very scary, to be honest, because it's, you have this movie that you made and you watched it with your crew a lot. I showed it once before at Pixar. That was very scary, because it's just like, oh my God, these are all the people I admire. I hope they don't hate this. And eventually, like, that kind of primed me to show to people that I don't know. But I was very touched by the receipt. I don't know how you say it. I was very touched by how it was received. People came up to me and talked to me about their own best friends, because we had a little panel. I talked about it. They talked to me about the people that they loved and lost, and how they still feel like they're still around. And it was very touching to me to see how many people connected with the film. And it was fantastic to see it. Some of our crew members were there together. Our awesome producer, Jessica Height, was there with me. It was just so great to be able to celebrate that, the final of the movie. It was the first festival we got into. It was super weird. It was the first festival, was Tribeca, and it won. And we were just so touched by that. So that was a fantastic experience. I recommend anybody who sends their film to a festival and gets in, go to the festival. I unfortunately couldn't make it to most other festivals because I have a young child, but it was so fun to be able to go to New York for that. I took her with me too. I took my baby.
Oh, that's great. Really nice little film. And you can, what I really like about, you have a YouTube channel that you put a little making of videos that kind of
Yes.
give you an introduction to the film, and like kind of like the different steps along the way. So if anybody wants to see that, they can go, I'll put the link down in there so people can see it. So you said, you just mentioned you had children. So I saw your live action film, The Good Egg, or Good Egg. And I was wondering if you could talk about that.
Right before Starling was actually in the last year of Starling's production, I had this idea of telling a personal story of trying to conceive and failing at it, and it having to go through fertility treatments. And it was shocking to me how I didn't see any of that represented in the media. And I didn't even hear about it. I mean, I knew some of my good friends went through it, but I just didn't know what the process was really, like very kind of in a detailed way. What did that mean and how emotional it could be? And I kind of had this like flash of an idea, wrote it down in like a day. The script was done like in a crude way. And then I teamed up with Samara Al-Jumaili, who is an excellent producer, and she is actually my manager at Pixar. So I just approached her and said, "Would you like to produce this?" And through the co-op program again, we set off on making it a live action film because I didn't want to spend 4 years on it because animation takes long, you know. But we still brought some animation sensibilities to it. It was kind of, we exaggerated some stuff, and it was fun to make. So yeah, I learned a lot about live action filmmaking there, and I saw how quick it was, how fun it was, how collaborative it was, it was just so, you think about something and it's like right there. You don't have to think too hard, you know? And the production designer has your back in that way where you think, oh yeah, this is this kind of a person. The production designer just kind of builds the set and you're done. You know, it was so experimental and fun that I definitely want to do live action again. And I thought bringing animation experience into this was helpful because I could just draw the storyboard and be like, can you shoot it like this? And our amazing DP could say, yeah, this is possible, or like actually this other angle is better. And that's how the film was done. And I was very proud of it, just like I'm proud of Starling.
So how long did Starling take, and then how long did Good Egg take to make?
Well,
Do you know?
I mean, Starling took quite a bit longer, but I don't know if that's like a fair comparison because Starling was very involved. That being said, the production of Starling, from the moment we put pencil to paper to draw the animation, not the storyboards, to draw the animation until the very end was a year and a half. So it was very short, actually. It was just me dilly-dallying in story for like 3 years. That was the bulk of the time. If I had found the story and storyboarded it within like a month, which I know doesn't really happen, but if I did, then I could say Starling was done in a year and a half, which would have been incredible, which I think the production being super fast, we owe it a lot to our amazing leadership, like Jessica Haidt, Holger Leha, our supervising animator, Andrew Jimenez, our DP, Christopher Landis, our visual effects supervisor, Aisha Arkalı, our editor, and Celine, our production designer. These six people were like spearheading this, even when I was kind of burnt out or I went into labor, they were continuing to finish this film. And I think that was such a great momentum that created a momentum that kept the movie going for a year and a half, and then we were done. I can't even say year and a half. I think it was like a year and 4 months, something like that. So it was quite fast. And Good Egg took 1 year from the conception of the idea to starting to prep was like 6 months later. And we shot it in 3 days. And it took a couple months to edit it together. And, you know, it was a lot less involved, even if it felt like bursts of work. It was not 4 years of my life banging my head against my computer going, what am I trying to do? You know?
So now that you had a taste of making an animated short film and making a live action short film, which do you have a preference now of what you want to do next?
I just think the story informs the medium. And I definitely want to do live action again. I thought it was such an amazing experience. But I got into this whole thing because of my love of animation. I love animation so much. And I think it's such a great, um, malleable, vast art form that I'd never want to stop doing animation in my life. But I definitely want to incorporate live action either within it or doing some projects to get more tastes of it. I know like live action, I have so much more to learn. it was just like a taste of live action for me. It's very involved and it's like this whole very serious, very deep art form. So I feel like I need to learn a lot more to do it in any sort of professional way.
What advice would you give like beginning filmmakers and how to get their films going?
Yeah, I would say keep the story very simple and personal, and surround yourself with people who want to do this with you. If you can like gather a group of your friends or people who are wanting to learn some disciplines that they don't know before, or even people like your colleagues or and your schoolmates. Like if you have people in your classroom who want to participate in something like that, I would say I can't do anything alone, so a group helps a lot. That was, I think, the key to me being able to do these two films. It was just like having a lot of allies, having a lot of supporters. And if you can surround yourself with those, I would say then you're golden, you know. And if you keep the story simple, manageable, and I know I speak like that, but I feel like our both of the films were a bit like a little more challenging than I thought they would be. But if just like I guess don't make it a very big thing. Make it a very small thing, make that very small thing very unique and specific to you. And people will resonate with it and people will want to help out. And I think if you have any kind of resources, if you're a student, do it while you're a student because you have access to all these softwares and computers and facilities. If you're no longer a student, then there is a lot of options that you have in terms of like raising money with Kickstarter. And it obviously it's harder. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, it's easy. It's not easy at all. Like it's difficult to make an animated short film unless you have a lot of tight friends who want to support you. And it's very expensive to do. Like if you want to hire artists, if you want to raise enough money to be able to do that, it could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to make an animated short film the caliber that you want to make it. So you either do it with your friends or you raise some money on Kickstarter and or you find someone who wants to support the stream. But if you're a student, take advantage of that. We were very lucky to do it through the Pixar co-op program because we had the access to facilities and the software just like a student would. And that's kind of what I have to say. It's all about the team.
I want to thank you for coming on Animateducated, and I can't wait to see, the next films that you're going to be working on. Thanks again for coming on Animateducated.
Thank you for having me, Jim. It was a pleasure talking to you.
And if you enjoyed this in any way, you can see more videos if you scroll down below. Keep scrolling, you'll find a bunch of interviews there. And if you really like this, you can support it by pressing that button to subscribe, or you can take a look at these videos here, and we'll see you next time on Animateducated.